In 2007, the world was spinning faster than ever. The global economy was on the brink of chaos, but one company stood tall, seemingly untouchable. That company was Research in Motion, the creators of the BlackBerry. It wasn't just a phone. It was a statement, a status symbol. If you had a BlackBerry, you were important. You were busy. You were making money. They commanded an astonishing 50% of the US smartphone market. They were the very heartbeat of Wall Street, Washington, and every major boardroom across the globe. Then, on a stage in San Francisco, Steve Jobs unveiled the first iPhone. The world cheered, but the executives at BlackBerry, they laughed. Mike Lazaridis, the engineering genius behind the BlackBerry, the man who built this empire, looked at the iPhone's all-glass screen and scoffed. He famously said, "Try typing a key on glass. It doesn't work. You can't see what you're doing." They genuinely believed it was a toy for teenagers, a gimmick. They thought their fortress was impenetrable. But in the ruthless world of business, the moment you stop fearing your competition is the moment you start to die. This is the untold story of how sheer arrogance killed a $70 billion giant. To understand the collapse, you first have to understand the addiction. Long before TikTok or Instagram, the first digital drug was the CrackBerry. That tiny, blinking red light, it was pure Pavlovian conditioning. It signaled an important email, a deal closing, money being made. BlackBerry wasn't just selling phones, they were selling efficiency, productivity, and power. They had mastered one thing better than anyone else on the planet: mobile email. Their network was an absolute fortress. It was incredibly secure, used a tiny amount of data, and the battery life was legendary, lasting for days, not hours. But the real secret weapon, that iconic physical keyboard, you could fire off an entire email under the conference table during a boring meeting without even looking down. You could run a multinational corporation from the back of a taxi. For the corporate elite, the BlackBerry wasn't just a gadget. It was an extension of their body. It was an organ, and because this powerful, influential group loved it, BlackBerry made a critical assumption. They believed they owned the customer. And who did they listen to? Not the end users, not the CEOs themselves, but the IT departments of the big banks, law firms, and government agencies. And what did those IT departments want? They demanded security above all else. They demanded long battery life. They explicitly said, "We do not want games. We do not want cameras. We do not want distractions." So, BlackBerry gave them exactly what they asked for, and that was their single most fatal mistake. They were listening to the rigid demands of the past, while a company in California was busy building the freewheeling future. When the iPhone officially launched, the internal reaction at BlackBerry headquarters wasn't panic. It was genuine confusion. Their engineers, some of the best in the world, tore an iPhone apart, piece by piece, and analyzed its components. Their conclusion: it was impossible. It couldn't work. The battery shouldn't last more than a couple of hours. The network shouldn't be able to handle that much data. Lazaridis famously declared, "Mac users will buy this, but business users, never." They were engineers looking at a problem through a purely technical lens. They fixated on everything the iPhone couldn't do. It had no copy and paste. It couldn't connect to the faster 3G networks. It was, in their eyes, woefully insecure. And of course, it lacked a physical keyboard. From a purely technical feature-by-feature comparison, the BlackBerry was the superior device for a serious user, but they completely missed the monumental psychological shift that was happening. The iPhone wasn't just a communication tool, it was a pocket-sized supercomputer. It was an entertainment device. It was fun, and guess what? CEOs, bankers, and lawyers are human too. They wanted to browse the real, full-fat internet, not some stripped-down mobile version. They wanted to play Angry Birds. They wanted apps. The world was changing, and BlackBerry's executives were standing still, doubling down on their old beliefs. They insisted that no one would ever want to watch a movie on a tiny 3-inch screen. They insisted that typing on glass was just a fad that would never catch on. They were the captains of the Titanic, looking at the iceberg dead ahead and confidently saying, "That's just a little ice. Full steam ahead." Then, the denial turned to panic. Verizon, the biggest mobile carrier in the United States, was desperate. They needed an answer to AT&T's exclusive, blockbuster deal with Apple for the iPhone. They put immense pressure on BlackBerry to create their own touchscreen phone and to do it fast. The result was the BlackBerry Storm, released in 2008. This was the device that didn't just stumble. It single-handedly shattered the company's pristine reputation for quality. It was an unmitigated disaster. The SurePress clickable screen was laggy and frustrating. The software was buggy and crashed constantly. It is estimated that nearly 100% of the first batch of devices were either returned by customers or had to be replaced. For the first time in its history, BlackBerry looked utterly incompetent. And while BlackBerry was frantically and clumsily trying to copy Apple, a new, even more dangerous threat emerged from the shadows. Google. The Android operating system began to flood the market with cheap, customizable smartphones from a dozen different manufacturers. Suddenly, BlackBerry was being attacked on two fronts. Apple was conquering the premium high-end market. Android was devouring the mass market at the low end. BlackBerry found itself squeezed in a rapidly shrinking middle ground with nowhere to go. Their very last line of defense, their final moat, was BBM, BlackBerry Messenger. It was the original exclusive chat club. For a time, kids and teenagers were buying BlackBerries just to be part of that network, just to talk to their friends. But then, WhatsApp arrived. A simple app that worked on any phone, on any platform, and it was free. The walls of the BlackBerry fortress didn't just crack, they evaporated into thin air, almost overnight. By 2013, it was effectively all over. A market share that once proudly touched 50% had collapsed to less than 1%. The king was dead. We often think that great companies fail because they stop innovating. But that's not the BlackBerry story. BlackBerry did innovate. They practically invented the entire smartphone industry as we knew it. Their failure wasn't a lack of innovation. It was a failure of imagination, born from pure arrogance. They believed their past success guaranteed their future survival. They believed they knew what the customer wanted better than the customer did. And most critically, they refused to risk cannibalizing their own successful product, the keyboard-based phone, to build something new and uncertain for the future. Today, Apple is the undisputed king, sitting on a mountain of cash. But history has a funny, and often brutal, way of repeating itself. No empire lasts forever. So, I have to ask you, look at Apple today. Do you see a company that is still radically innovating? Or do you see a company that is protecting its fortress, just like BlackBerry did? Is the iPhone's dominance guaranteed for the next 10 years? Or is there another BlackBerry moment, another unexpected challenger, waiting in the shadows? Let me know what you think in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more of the stories Money Dose and Tea want you to know.